back to Today's Investor. Today is a special day because I have with me Mr. Carlos Garcia. He's one of my good friends here, and he's also a person I've done a lot of business with here in the San Antonio area. He's a known investor, he's a known manager of an office here in town. He also does a lot in the real estate realm, and he's just a good person to know, one of quality and high character as well.
So appreciate that. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me, Marco.
Hey, when I was thinking of people I wanted on this show, I said immediately Carlos is one that can really give some good information, but also has a great story, which I'm excited to get into. But let's just go ahead and get right into it. I'm definitely very excited to talk to you today because there are a lot of people out there that really want to get in real estate, and they really want to get involved in investments, and they can see themselves as someone of high stature, someone that can accomplish a lot, doing a lot of different deals, but they have a starting point just like you have a starting point. So tell me a little bit of where you're from and how this all got started.
Okay, I'm originally born from San Antonio, born and raised. I grew up on the west side. I don't know if you're familiar with the Boys and Girls Club of San Antonio.
Okay,
I was probably about a block away from there, and that's where I spent the majority of my childhood growing up. And then after high school, I graduated from Brackenridge High School. I went to not immediately. I was kind of figuring out life right after high school. Had a son at a young age. I was probably about 18 years old when I had my first son. So at that point, it was really trying to figure out how to survive. And I knew I wanted to be somebody. I had the potential to be somebody, but I knew that there was a lot of things that I was lacking. So through adversity and consequences, I learned a lot early on about what I didn't want to do.
Sure. Those are good lessons early.
Yeah, so it got to a point where I realized that I needed to make a change, and it was at my third son when I really realized, okay, this is getting out of hand. I have too many children.
Well, you have a family now. You're like, hey, I need to really move somewhere, get somewhere, right?
Exactly, and I was about 24, 25 at the time, and I worked a lot of jobs, and nothing really where I was excited about working. Most of the jobs that I was doing were physical labor jobs. I was stacking milk crates at Oak Farms Dairy in a refrigerator. I was loading up 18-wheelers at UPS. I tried telemarketing. Calling people,
kinds of wherever you could go, right?
Wherever I can go, but I never lasted at these places for longer than a month because I would be there, and it was so demoralizing to where I was like, man, I can't do this, and I had to find a different way to get out of it. And at that point, my wife, well, she was my girlfriend at the time. She was deciding to go back to college, and I was like, you know what? That is something I haven't tried. Let me give college a shot. Yeah. What do you think? And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, college isn't for you. You're not a college boy. What are you doing?
You had those doubts.
I had those doubts, and they were heavy on my mind. But I was looking for somebody that would tell me you could do it. Just give it a shot. Give it a try. Go for it.
Had you thought about college prior to that?
I thought about it, and anytime I talked to anyone else about college, they were like, why are you going to go to college? You're going to just get in debt. You're not guaranteed a job. You're not, all you're going to have to do is pay back student loans. It was just negativity.
So they always gave you negative answers, never really supported you or said, hey, you could do it.
Exactly. And finally, for the first time, I hear some positive feedback, like, hey, you know what, you should. And that was like, I was like, finally, somebody thinks that it's just a good idea.
The power of the right partner.
She
was there to support you and just give you those few words that really got you motivated and said, all right, this is a possibility.
Yes, exactly. And even at that time, it wasn't like I just switched, like, okay, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to do great at it. I was like, I'm going to give it a try. And if I fail, well, then it's not meant to be. Then that, to me, was going to be the defining moment. But if I pass, well then, hey, I got a shot.
Yeah.
There's a chance. And I was looking at college as an opportunity to give myself some skills.
So at this time, you're kind of contemplating whether or not to go to college,
Mm-hmm.
you know, she gave you some great words to say, yeah, you should do it. But mentally for you, were you at this point always wanting to be in like investing or business, or was it more of like, hey, I'm just trying to figure out how I can improve or go to the next level, or what was your mentality there at that point?
At that point, it was more like do something positive, do something different. Right now, and I was always taught, you know, if you're going to go to college, typically your first 2 years, you figure it out.
Right.
Right. So, and at that point, you know, my intention was like, okay, I'll go to college. Maybe I'll get an associate's degree. You know,
Maybe.
maybe I'll get an associate. Maybe I'll just get a certificate. I don't know, right? And at that point, so it's like, okay, just get in there and dive right in. You know, after you get going, then you'll figure it out. So initially, I didn't have a plan. It was just to go out, try it, and see what happens. But as I started to progress, I realized that I need to really capitalize and take advantage of being in college. And so I got involved with as many organizations as I could. There was one organization that I got accepted into, which was the Student Leadership Institute, and something inside me just said, go be a leader, just be a leader. And and I was thinking, okay, well, you know what, this is probably going to be a good thing. It'll look good on my resume.
Did that start right away, or were you there for a little while?
I think it was after a year. It was after a year, because
so pretty quickly you were like, hey, I want to get involved. I want to be doing things. I want to be with other individuals and lead, like you were saying. Wow.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing was that. At that time, you know, my environment, my friends, you know, I wouldn't say they were the most positive people that I was around, you know.
Your circle of influence.
My circle of influence, yeah. So, you know, I realized that in order for me to change, I needed to take myself out of that environment, put myself in a positive environment. And that's...
And you realized this because things were starting to go well in college and you were starting to progress, and you just kind of realized that, hey, my environment, my old environment is not necessarily what I want my new environment to be?
Well, I had learned, I had some experiences previously to college that were negative experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I realized that I didn't want to go through those things again, and so I knew that I had to adapt and change and do something different, and that was the only thing that I could think of that could possibly be that avenue, that vehicle. And as I started to progress through the semesters, then it started to prove true. And, you know, I met new people. I started to think differently. I started to become hungry for success. I started to see myself changing.
Get confident?
I was building confident, but the most important thing that really, really empowered me was the confidence that the people that I was around at school, professors, other students, that they were really like rooting for me, like, hey, I want you. You can do something great. Like I don't know why they believed in me, but they did. And you know, it got to a point where I was like, wow, I guess I'm doing something good here. You know, so and then once I got to my second year of college, after you know, my third semester, then I started like, well, what are you gonna do? Okay, now it's time to make a decision. Do you want to go to a 4-year college? You know, do you think it's possible? I started looking at my grades, and I was like, wow, I've been on honor roll for 3 semesters in a row. Like, I can actually go to a decent university.
So you weren't even sure you were going to go to college, if you would even do well in college, and then you were in the honor roll.
Yeah.
How crazy.
Honor society, all these
nice.
things, man. It was motivating, and it just kept building my confidence, and I was just like, wow, all right, cool, I can do this. And then I looked into UTSA's transfer programs, and I learned about their real estate finance and development program. I was like, well, that's it. I was like, I want to be in real estate. Like, I figured that I'm probably not the type of person to work for a corporation, like you know, your traditional corporations.
Right.
But you know, I knew that real estate was a vehicle that most wealthy entrepreneurs invest in, and it's a part of their career. So I was like, I don't think I can go wrong there.
So you looked at it, the reason you picked real estate as your major was because you were looking at what you wanted success to be in your life, and then you kind of reverse engineered it to where, hey, all these successful people out here, most of them are involved in real estate. So you're
Right.
like, I need to be in real estate. So that's kind of how it came to be.
It is, and because there wasn't many other options that I was seeing as a possibility for me, especially my personality. You know, I'm very outgoing. I'm always moving, and at the end of the day, you know, I realized that I was actually a salesman. I like, you know, you're a salesperson. You're a sales kind of guy, you know. So
And then it all clicked.
and then it clicked. I was like, okay, business, sales, real estate. I can do this. Okay, there's a way. And despite any adversity that I saw in the future, I was like, you know, it doesn't really matter. What matters is what I do now and how hard I work. That no matter what, I'll earn an opportunity. And I just continue to progress, and I finally graduated. I transferred to UTSA. I got accepted to their honors college program.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's pretty big, and you know, I'm really feeling good about myself at that point. And so as I progressed through UTSA, I joined a business fraternity. I'm involved there. I joined a organization on part of the real estate club.
You were just joining everything.
I
I'll be involved in all of these different
Yeah, because
organizations.
really I was just trying to build myself up. I was just putting more tools in my tool belt. And I knew that it was important because everything that I was experiencing, no matter it was a struggle or whatever it was, I knew that it was going to come in handy down the line in the future when it came time to get to work. I also made a bunch of great friends and built, you know, a new network of positive influences, and that to me is what really changed my whole mindset and what kind of opportunities are really available to people who want to do something different and change their circumstances, their situations. So I looked at it all as a positive thing. And
the possibility was there.
Right, exactly. And so finally, once I graduated, then it's like, okay, now what? You know, I go to college, and my final project is a development project. It's our capstone project, and we pretty much what we did was we worked with a broker. We picked a piece of property.
A real broker?
Yeah, a real
Oh,
broker, a commercial broker. He actually had a piece of property, and it was a competition. And each group had to come up with a development project. To build something from the ground up on this piece of property. So my group and I, we did North Cliff golf course where, you know, our goal was to build a 2-tier driving range, kind of like Top Golf.
That's fun.
Not to say that idea came from us, but you know, that's what we thought would be cool.
That's where it came from.
It came from,
They
right?
stole it from you.
They stole it from me.
They got your secret documents.
But that was, you know, my experience. Okay, this is what a developer does. You know, you identify the piece of property, you secure the asset, you come up with a plan, how this development will become an income-producing piece of property, and how the investors are going to come in and invest in your project. And we did that. You know, I wish we would have won first place, but I think we probably came in third. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. The whole thing was, you know, the experience that I got from it was. Learning what is actually possible and what's doable. But then once I graduated, then it's like, okay, here's reality hitting me again. Like, hey man, you're not in anywhere near the position to become a developer. Like you're a college graduate, great job. You have your piece of paper. Now what? You know, you don't have no money. You have the debt, and you know, what are you going to do from here? So I got a job at Radio Shack. You know, it's like, you know what, this is the only opportunity that's available for me. I had tried to apply with commercial brokerages, and at that time, the market had just crashed, and you know, nobody was hiring, and it was the death of real estate. You know, everybody had a negative outlook. Until I came across my brokerage, New Western Acquisitions, and it all started from. Thanksgiving dinner.
So you had the job at Radio Shack. Did you have any other jobs from there to New Western?
No.
No. So how did the New Western thing come about? How did that happen?
So it's a funny story. So we started. It was at Thanksgiving dinner. I was at my uncle's house for Thanksgiving dinner, and my cousin JD. Well, I just found out, I had found out he was my cousin at the time. We never grew up with each other or anything like that, so it was kind of like fate, you know.
A long lost cousin.
Yeah, long lost cousin and distant cousin, but it didn't really matter. The fact is that we were there, and they were talking about JD, and they were like, "Oh, JD just made $30,000 last month." I was like, $30,000 in a month?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm making $8 an hour at Radio Shack. I don't care what I have to do. I know I can do it. So he downplayed it. He was like, oh, I'm just doing some real estate investing, you know. So he was telling me a little bit about it, and then he's like, I was like, hey, great, man. I just got my degree. It was in real estate finance.
You're like, perfect.
I need to be in real estate, so help me out here. And he said, yeah, man, you know what? You know, coincidentally, we're actually opening an office here in San Antonio. And this was in November. He's like, but, you know, I'll let you know, man. I'll let you know what happens, and, you know, I'll keep you posted. I was like, all right, man, cool, appreciate it. So after, you know, a month went by, I kind of thought, well, maybe it's not going to happen. You know, I think I've heard that. You know, I'll let you know.
Sure.
Kind of deal. Okay, well, so I wasn't down, but I didn't know if that was really going to happen or not. So finally, come December, my broker, Nathan, he actually he gives me a call. He's like, "Hey, Carlos, we're here down in San Antonio. You know, your cousin JD told me that you're interested in getting into real estate. You know, I want to see if you have some time to sit down with me." Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, awesome, let's do it.
Yeah, man, I was like, y'all are here already? He's like, yeah, man. She's like, we got the office opened up and everything. I was like, wow. I was like, yes, sir. Let me come in and sit with you. So. At that moment, you know, I set it up in there. He set up the interview. I came in, sat with him, and you know, I got to know Nate, and you know, he's like, hey, look, you know, we're just getting started. It's a new brokerage. You're willing to come in, be a sponge, learn what we're doing, pretty much, and then if you feel like you know, we can be a good fit for each other, you know, I'll give you a seat here. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm still working at Radio Shack. I'm like, okay, well, let me give this a shot. He's like, well, you have to get your real estate license. I'm like, okay. I had some obstacles to overcome to get my license,
Sure.
but I was like, hey, for some reason, if I can't get my real estate license, would I have a job here? He's like, probably not. I was like, well, I appreciate your honesty. Let's roll the dice and see what happens.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's make it happen. So. So, you know, I went in and he's like, hey, it's 100% commission. You know, there's no guarantee. The only thing is, you know, are you willing? Will you get out of it what you put into it?
Right.
And then I started thinking, well, I've heard that before. But, you know, it was usually with some other kind of get-rich-quick scheme.
Sure.
And I was like, well, this isn't the same. This seems like the real deal here. So, and then he started teaching me about, you know, wholesaling, residential wholesaling.
So this was kind of like the perfect alignment, because you had just graduated, you were looking for an opportunity to get into the real estate field, and for them, they had just opened the office. So when you were getting involved here, you were really learning from the ground up, all the intricacies of building the proper foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You were building their brokerage, which was their business, but at the same time you were building your business
Mm-hmm.
within that. So you must have been learning a lot at that time.
I learned a lot, and I learned a lot from adversity. Because you have to think about this. This is the time where there's no business going on, and
Because this is like 2008 time frame.
this is 2010 going into 2011. So, but this
So the market was still kind of depressed at this point.
and this is really where, you know, the business was built, was off of the down market, right?
Right.
Because there was a surplus of residential properties
Right.
that were available, so that were distressed as well. So. I started to learn about real estate, wholesaling, residential investments. I was like, man, I never even learned this in college. I didn't even know this existed. Like, wow, this is great.
Right.
And so, but seeing it was a challenge, because it's not like coming into a business where, you know, business is booming, they have deals all up and down the board, and
Right.
you know, you can just see everybody willing and dealing. Like I'm actually seeing everybody struggle.
Sure.
And then I have my own struggle. So it's like, okay, well, you know, there's a little bit of doubt that comes into your mind. It's like, well, is this really possible? But
They really tried you.
yeah, and I was really tested, but
Yeah.
I stuck with it. And then as I started to see the guys produce, I'm like, okay, here it goes.
Yeah.
And that's when my confidence started to build up. I was like, I see what they're doing, and I start to do it, and I'm working, and I'm overcoming all the challenges, and then finally, you know.
So at this point, you're a wholesale agent for them, right?
I'm a wholesale agent, yep.
Right.
So we're acquiring properties. My job is to go out, meet investors, find investors, and sell them our properties as they come out. And I was like, okay, now I have to meet with cash buyers,
Sure.
and provide them, an asset that's going to provide them an above average return on their investment. So I had to learn that whole process, how to manage the investor relationship and earn their business.
So let me just touch on this a little bit. So this is like a big point here, because there's a lot of people out there that just want to do one wholesale deal. So at this point, you're handling both sides, right? You're communicating with sellers to get the deals, and then you're also communicating with the buyers to sell the deals, right?
Yeah, well, for me, at that point in my career, I was just communicating with the buyers.
With the buyers, okay.
Yeah,
so when you're communicating with the buyers at that point, what were some of the key components that you were learning, as far as like you said, you didn't have a list to start with. How did you start that list? And then how did you, identify who your top buyers were? How did you maintain those relationships? What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenge. I don't know if you remember the bandit signs.
Yeah.
You still might see them, but we were big on bandit signs, man. I was throwing probably 100 signs a day. I mean, on
man,
every corner, I was blasting them out there, because they would say, you get out of this what you put into it. I was like, well, I'm gonna work my tail off. I'm gonna go work my butt off every day and see how many people I can meet. And that was a challenge, because you imagine you have a sign on the corner and you have people calling you and you don't know who you're dealing with.
Right.
It might be a competitor. It might be just some kid playing with you calling you.
Sure.
You have to qualify and do all that stuff. So.
Might be the city.
It might be the city. Yeah, hey, your sign's not supposed to be here. Slap you with a fine. So, but at that point, it's like, okay, I just had to do what I had to do, and fortunately, I was able to build a decent list and start from there. And then, I just got out to my favorite thing to do is networking. Going out, meeting people, shaking hands, and actually.
Why do you like it so much?
Well, because I can know I know who I'm talking to. I can tell that you're either an investor, or you can't lie to me in my face.
Right.
You can lie to me on a bandit sign. You can lie to me on the phone. But when we're meeting face to face, I'm a pretty good judge of character. I can tell if somebody's just lying or if they're being honest, and so that was the best avenue for me, because I was able to build those relationships a lot easier.
So you connected with people directly,
exactly,
one-on-one, and you could really find out what their needs were, what they were looking for, and how you could help them.
Exactly. And actually, the first investor that I ever met that I sold a house to was at your event, Equity Academy. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I met an investor there, and then the next day.
So I attributed to your success.
You did,
All
man.
right.
You didn't even know it.
I'll take it.
It was a great networking event right there at the Omni Hotel, man. I'll never forget it. I was out there networking and finally met a buyer, and. I actually had a house in their neighborhood that they really wanted. They loved it, and
Awesome.
I showed them the property. At the end of the day, they bought it. It was a victory.
So this is how it's supposed to work.
This is how, yeah, exactly. And then at that point, I was like, okay, this is how it goes, and I never looked back. And I just kept going. And every month, it started slow. It wasn't like I just did a ton of deals. The first year was very, very slow. I probably only made $10,000 my first year, which was okay, because I learned so much. I mean, I had a wealth of knowledge, which set up the playing field for my second year. But mind you, during my first 2 years while I was working at New Western, I went back to college to pursue my master's degree in business administration. The main reason I did that was to defer my student loans.
Oh, there you go.
Because the payments were coming
That's smart.
due, and they were like, okay, well, you can either file deferment, or you can go back to college and you're deferred till you're done.
Hey, well, that works out, because you're still self-improving, sharpening that saw, and doing all those different things.
Exactly.
Plus, they were like, we need our honor roll boy back. Where's he at?
Well, I actually went back. I went back to college, but I went to Texas A&M San Antonio, and and it was a great program, and I learned a lot from it. But the whole thing was, nobody said I needed to go and get a master's degree. Actually, people said, you don't need a master's. You're in real estate. Why are you doing that? Well, I was like, it builds credibility, and as a professional. And that's what I wanted to do. I want to become a credible professional, and I want people to know that, not that just because I have degrees, but when they speak to me, I can speak intelligently and know what I'm talking about and know different components of business and
Sure.
how it's ran. So that way, I'm just well-rounded as a person, and in the long run, I just knew it was going to take me to where I need to be. And
I want to ask you this, because obviously your story, you're getting better and better and better through this timeline, right? But like you said earlier, there were some times where that first year was a rough year.
mm-hmm.
There was a lot of adversity and tests that
Mhm.
happened. How did you handle that pushback, those failures? I'm sure there was probably deals where you're like, all right, we got the buyer in place, we're going to close here, and then title never clears or something like that happens. There was probably some setbacks along the way. How did you deal with that mentally? How did you work through that? How did you keep the mentality to continue moving forward to break through that?
Well, one of the most important things is I have a very supportive wife, and during that time, all she fed me was positivity and help motivate me and just keep on going. She knew that it was something that was going to take time, and that I was going to have to overcome these challenges. So I got that support from her, and then in addition to that, I had support from my team. The team that I was on, these guys that were building me up, and they're like, "Hey man, don't worry about it. We're gonna keep on pushing. Hey, this deal might fall out, but don't worry. I have something else coming out." And
So your mentors, but also the other agents in the office.
Exactly. The agents that have been producing and doing very, very well. So those were the things that actually helped me progress through all the adversity and overcome them, because at the end of the day, I just knew it was just time that was holding me back.
So it was just the circle of influence. You just had a really good circle of influence that really, promoted what you were doing, supported what you did, really encouraged you when things didn't go the way that you were anticipating, those type of things. So how about this? With some of the people that are newer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wholesaling is a very attractive component of the real estate business.
Right.
What are some general pieces of advice that you would give to people looking to get started, that are considering it, or maybe they haven't done a deal yet, but they really want to, or maybe they've done one or two and they didn't get paid as much as they thought, and they really want to expand? What are some things that you would tell them?
For the most part, it depends on what your resources are. There's some people that have the financial means to get into just straight flipping houses, and if that's something that you want to do, buy, fix, and sell, then focus on that. The key in real estate is specialization. Specializing in a certain niche that allows you to overcome any of the obstacles or your current situation that you're currently facing. Other than that, you just go at it and you just work really hard. You grind until you get there. And once you get there, you keep pushing. Then you start to reap the rewards. And when you start to reap the rewards, you don't stop. You keep going. And you just become better over time. And you make your process efficient. And at that point, then you'll build a system that's going to allow you to produce.
I think you touched on a point that a lot of people fall into the trap of, which is they'll close, a handful of deals, or maybe they'll get that one big deal that they got 10 grand on or 20 grand on, and then they're like, all right, finally. And then they just kind of chill. They might go on a small vacation or whatever, when that's actually the time when they need to be putting their foot on the metal or on the pedal there to keep going forward, because now you have some momentum, you got some things moving in the right direction, and you don't want to fall into the trap of just kind of being, all right, hey, it's good, and then if you do that, you fall back into where you started from, where you didn't want to be in the first place.
Yes, and I learned that early on. Really, within my first year, I'd actually went on a little run. I had sold probably like 8 houses in 1 month. It was pretty crazy. And then I was like, man, this feels great. And then
You were like,
I was like, okay.
This will be every month.
So I took a break and I was kind of chilling. And then, a month passes and then I'm like, oh, I don't have no deals closing. I haven't sold anything. I need to get back to work. So, so I experienced that challenge early on. But it's when you actually realize that, you know what, I'm doing well. Now it's happening. Now this is where I push even harder. And this is where I focus even with more intensity. and that's when you really start to benefit and really make, you know, the kind of money that you want to make. So, you know, but it takes focus, it takes dedication, and it takes consistency. The money will continue to come. Don't ever look at it like, oh, now I've made a fat payday, it's time for me to take a break. No, I made a fat payday, it's time for me to keep going and go even harder than what I've been doing. And that opens up the door to real success.
Yeah, pretend like you didn't even get it almost. Just
Exactly.
put it over there, and you know you were in a particular mode, a grinding mode to get that fat payday. So if you act like it didn't exist, then you're just going to keep doing it, which means another one's on the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and you want plenty of those.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you get another one, back to back. Next thing you know, you get another. And then now you just made 80 grand in the first 6 months of the year, and you're like, holy cow. I need to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, so, but it takes time to build up. But once you build up, then you learn from your mistakes, and you just keep going, and you just keep getting better. And it's about specializing. Where people also make the mistake is they mix their strategies, and they lose focus of what really got them to where they are, and they go try something else. And when they go try something else, then this other strategy suffers.
That's the shiny rock syndrome.
Yeah, man. The grass is not greener. The grass is not greener. If you stay focused and you keep on pushing, then you will do better than you could have done transitioning into anything else.
Become the master of that first.
You have to master it. Once you master it, you build your system, and it makes you money continuously. Hey, now you have time to go and try something different, you know, implement a new strategy. But it takes at least 5 years to master something, at least 5 to 10, you know, depending on, you know, the amount of work that you put into it, your intensity, and you know, the sacrifices you make. But you know, 5 years on a minimum, 10 years, you know, if you have to take your time to get there. But mastery is key. And you know that saying, right? You know plenty of people that are jack of all trades, master of none.
There's a lot of those in real estate.
Yeah.
If you go and introduce yourself to someone and you ask them what they do and they're like, I do a little bit of everything, that's typically a person that's not of a high echelon.
Yeah.
So, you know, be mindful of that. Don't be that person. Be the person of like, this is my thing that I do and I'm the best at it. You want to be working with me kind of thing.
Absolutely. Focus is key, and constantly learning and evolving personally, and whatever it is that you can learn as far as technology, just business sense, business knowledge. All those things are gonna contribute to you perfecting your system, perfecting your business, and growing it and hitting that next level. So don't be distracted by these other shining objects. There's going to be people that see you experience success, and then they're going to try to take you away from it and pull you to another realm, and that will probably be the biggest mistake that most people make.
And sometimes that person is you.
Yeah.
You're like, you know, hey, this person, you know, maybe I could do a partnership over here with these people, or hey, I finally got this, you know, good deal. Maybe I should try and flip it. Or, you know, there's a lot of different situations where that comes up, and if you can just keep that discipline, really get your systems going in that one arena, then once that is established and going, and that's operating almost without you, then all right, let's go into the next realm. So that's an awesome piece of information there. That's a good nugget there. So another thing I want to touch on with you, Carlos, is that, and I see this as kind of common with a lot of people that reach certain levels of success, is that yes, they're known for X. Let's say they're known for being a big real estate investor. But if you fast forward, or excuse me, if you go back in time 5, 10, 15 years, there were all these other things that maybe some setbacks, some failures, maybe certain jobs that they had, certain situations that they encountered, relationships that they built, all these different things added up and helped them become the person, so that when that opportunity arose for them to start their real estate investment career, they have all of these aspects to themselves that really helped them flourish. And it sounds like that's in your story too. You know, you went through college, you had the good people around you that surrounded you. You even talked about how you worked at Radio Shack, but that set you up so that you could work in the real estate realm.
Right.
I mean, touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, one of the most important things that I haven't talked about that really has been a big piece of to how I became who I am were the challenges I faced before I even went to college, and at a young age, late teenage years, very early 20s, getting into some trouble. I learned that doing things the wrong way were gonna always have negative consequences. And that was very, very important to learn early on, because once you get into real estate is an area where it's very fruitful, but if you're not careful, there are things that can be done that can get yourself into trouble too. So learning these things early on made me realize that no matter what, I will always do business with integrity. I will be honest. I will do things the right way, and I will never jeopardize my morals for money. And that's really what I learned early on in my life, and that really helped me. And then going through college gave me the education and the skills to communicate with people. It got me out of my comfort zone. While I was at Northwest Vista, I did my for one of the ceremonies, honor roll ceremonies. My instructor from the Student Leadership Institute, she actually wanted me to give a speech at the ceremony.
Awesome.
And there was 200 people there. It was like one of those things I was like, wow, this is kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
But before I even got there, I was like, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I was brave. I was like, oh,
Sure.
sure, I'll do it. But once the day came, I was like, uh-oh, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I did it, and I spoke in front of the audience. I shared a little bit about my story. I gave a little bit of words of encouragement to the students, and
That's awesome.
at the end, everybody was cheering for me and clapping. I was like, wow, what did I just do? What happened? And that got me out of my comfort zone and speaking in front of people. When I walked off the stage, people were walking up to me, shaking my hand. You're going to be successful. Keep on going. Keep doing what you're doing. And I was just, in awe. But it made me feel good. It made me feel really, really good to see so many people that didn't even know me that started to believe, like, man, you're going to do something great. I was like, okay, I don't even know what it is, but I'm with you. Let's go. So it was that experience. And then getting into UTSA, I became a peer educator on campus. I started promoting responsible behaviors to students, and not abusing alcohol and drugs, and having responsible sexual behaviors, because it's so easy to have a child at a young age. And from my experience, I had a child at a young age. I'm learning these things now. I'm preaching. I'm like, hey, okay, don't make these mistakes. They can really throw a wrench in your plans, So those were the things that started to build up my character. As I went through college, and then the professional development, the business fraternity, being involved with the real estate organization, those things started to build me up professionally. So all these other organizations and courses that I was taking just built up my mind, and that gave me the tools that I needed to communicate well with people, to have confidence in myself, to get out of my comfort zone and go do something that is bigger than me, and not be afraid to do it. And even if I'm afraid to do it anyways, and just go for it, because once it's done, it's not as bad as it seemed. And you typically do much better than you thought you would. And the outcome was always positive. And if it was a negative outcome, I learned from it, and I did better the next time. And it was very few negative outcomes. There was a ton of positive outcomes in everything that I was doing, because when you do things and you have the confidence and you have a plan and you have the faith that once your plan is executed, that your goal will be achieved, your target achievement will be met, that nothing will ever hold you back from being as great as you want to be. And I'm on that path now, and I see no limits.
That's awesome. I really wanted to highlight that, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are not happy with their current situation, or they're really wanting to get to a different level, or they wish that they had different results.
Mm-hmm.
But with those people, sometimes, and a lot of the time, they lose the perspective of, hey, you might not be where you want to be yet.
Right.
However, all these things that you've been doing, the past jobs, the past relationships, past experiences,
Mm-hmm.
the books that you've been reading, the self-education, all those things are helping you become a better individual,
Mm-hmm.
a person of higher stature,
Mm-hmm.
so that when you continue to do that, the results are just naturally going to follow. And the reason the results come is because of all these experiences, all these actions you've taken in the past, and that's clearly a result here. So that's awesome. You also mentioned earlier that I really want to highlight as well, that you learned really early on to be a person of integrity, to always have honesty, to have high level of ethics, and that's
Absolutely.
especially important in business, but also in real estate in general.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're constantly doing deals with one another, you're constantly working with new investors, new potential partners,
Yeah.
and it's all about your reputation. And your reputation comes down to your actions and what your actions are, and how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly doing the right thing, you're constantly being honest,
Yep.
and sometimes that means you walk away from money or you give money up because you need to do the right thing or make someone whole in certain situations. If you're doing that along the way, then you're going to establish that reputation, which only builds future business for you. People are going to want to do business with you because you have that reputation. And I know with you, there's tons of situations where, if you give somebody your word or verbal commitment, they know it's as good as written. And that's just from the reputation that's built over time. So
Right.
that's an awesome thing now. So you have this reputation, you've been doing these deals, you're slowly building up. You said you started to get some momentum going. Where did we go from here in the story?
Where were we?
So you were doing some deals, right? At
Right.
New Western. It started to come along.
Okay.
You went back and got your master's.
Right.
From there, obviously you started to progress. Obviously people in your team started to look up to you. I'm sure there was a lot of
yeah.
people asking you questions. How did that come about, and where did that go?
Yeah, so basically what happened was once I was done with college and I was done when I graduated, my confidence again increased. Why? Because I was able to...
Achievement's the biggest confidence booster.
It is, because when I looked at it, I thought about how much adversity I had working against me. I had 4 children. I have 4 children,
You have
right?
a big family.
I have a big family, right? I have 4 children, and then I had a job that was paying me only commission. I was in college. I had a wife. So I have all these things that
You got a full plate.
I have a full plate, and most people say, they use every one of those things as reasons why not to do something. I use that as a reason why I'm going to do it. And
That's that mentality shift.
Exactly.
A lot of people need to have.
And once college was done, that just freed up so much time, and my brain was already ready to go and really dive in and really make the best out of what I had. And at that point, I had got promoted in the company to acquiring properties for the company, and I made up my mind as I'm going to be a top producer here. I'm not going to stop, and I will do my best. I'll acquire, I'll sell, I'll do everything I have to do. And I did. And at that point, from there, the whole entire year, my income skyrocketed. And that's why I was like, oh, here we go. And now the wheels are turning, and now now I'm moving, and now I see even more progress, because it's year after year, progress. Gets a little better, gets a little bit better, gets a lot better. Mm-hmm. And then after that, then it's like, okay, what do I have to keep doing? And I have to keep learning. I have to keep growing. I have to crave more knowledge. Why? Because I know that I'm not perfect. It's never good enough. There's so much information out there. There's so much to learn that it's never enough.
Yeah.
It's never enough. So I started to capitalize on the network that I was around, and the mindsets of the most successful investors that I was working with, and I started to pick their brains, and they were telling me how they become successful, and then I started to relate and correlate where I've been and where they are, and now I start to see the path to success. Like, they didn't get there overnight, but these people, what they did was they never made excuses. They never complained. All they had their goals, they had their plans, and they executed day in and day out.
They're always usually the most positive people.
Exactly. And then on top of that, they're saying, hey, read this book, read that book. All right, I'm not a big reader, but I'll listen to an audio book.
Where's the audio version?
Yeah, give me the audio version. And that's what I did, because you know what? I at that time, I didn't have the self-discipline to pick up a book and read. And so I was like, well, let me at least put an audio on in the car while I'm driving to houses and looking at houses, or driving to work, or driving home from work. And that's when I started to use that time to educate myself even more beyond traditional coursework. It was more personal growth, and how do I make myself better? How do I get the next level? Now, and then I started picking people that I aspired to be like, and like I told you before, Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie, the 17 Principles of Achievement, Think Your Way to Wealth. I mean, it's a book that changed my whole mindset, and I've actually adopted that philosophy of success. So as I continue to go and grow and get there, I've applied certain principles along the way, and then in addition to that, it's had a direct impact on my business, to the point that now, over 5 years of being with the company, I've actually been promoted to a general manager, and now they actually, built an office for me. I have a brand new office here.
It still has the new smell.
And it just proves everything that I believe that's true. And all I do is just keep on going. It's new challenges, new obstacles, but like I've told you before, I welcome the adversity. I welcome the challenges. Why? Because it's something that's going to build me up for the next level of success, and.
So let me ask you this: now that we are to today, what are some of the things that you do today to keep you on track with success? What are some of the things you do, maybe from a reading standpoint or audiobook standpoint? Is there any sort of habits or rituals that you have, or people that you connect with? What are some of the things that you're doing today to help move you in the forward direction?
Right. So one of the, I think, most important things that I've adopted is exercising in the morning. So now I would never do this back in the day. I would never even find a reason why I would do this. I'd look for a reason why I wouldn't. But I wake up at about 4:30 in the morning.
Now or then?
Now.
Okay.
Now I wake up at about 4:30 in the morning. I go outside and I run about 5 miles, and
nice.
at that moment, that's when I'm taking care of my body, but it gets my day started. And now, so that's become a habit. So
gives you the mental boost too
it
for
gives
the day.
me exactly. So I do that, and then I come in and I work with the team. We work on our business, and acquire more properties for our investors. So I'm constantly working and coaching the team, my team right now, and then I meet with my mentors, my Mastermind Alliance regularly, and just pick their brains, and then also I'm always listening to audiobooks at any chance that I can get, because I realize that there's not enough time in the day to do everything that you want to do. So you have to use your time efficiently. You have to constantly, if you want to be successful, it depends. Some people get content and they're like, hey, I'm fine where I'm at, and cool. That's if you're happy, that's where you want to be. Stay there and keep living your life.
But you're not a person that gets content.
I just have a lot of kids, man, and a lot of responsibilities, so there's always a need for more.
Their wants are getting bigger too.
Yeah, they're getting bigger, they're getting older, they're outgrowing their clothes. Next thing you know, college is coming and it's going to get expensive. So, so that the purpose is, being able to provide and lead my kids in the right direction. So that way they become good men and have a positive impact. And that's I know that that's my responsibility. So. So I'm always working to be better to set the right example for them ultimately. So I'm never content, you know. I keep going, and another part of the motivation is to you know, set a good example for, you know, people where I come from, you know, who make excuses. There's no excuses to be made. I never had any good fortune, stroke of luck, or anything like that. Everything that contributed to my success up to this point has been, you know, through work ethic, putting myself around the right people, having the right support group, marrying the right woman.
Yeah, that's true. That's a big one.
You know, it really is, and you know, those are the things that I recognize that allow me to get to where I'm at. You know, you do need help, you do need support, and one thing that is true is if you're doing the right thing and you're working hard for it, you will have all the support that you ever need. Somebody will be there to help you. Doesn't matter if it's your girlfriend, it doesn't matter if it's your mother, it's a distant relative, it's a friend, somebody that, if you're putting yourself in a positive environment, you're gonna meet somebody that's going to root for you and will back you up because you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, if you're putting yourself in the right places, you're doing the right things, you're making that effort, you know, the people that have already done it will notice that.
Exactly.
Mentors will come, teachers will come, you know, potential partners might come out of the woodwork, so you're right, all over on that one.
Yeah, they want to see you become successful, and if anything, it gives them the satisfaction that they contributed, that they did something good for somebody, and that's the thing about successful people is they like to help people.
They want to give back.
They want to give back. It's a duty, you know. And for me, it's my duty too. It's like, okay, I'm experiencing success. Now what? Okay, give back. Give back as much information as possible. What you learn, your experience, share it, give it to people, so that way they can understand that, you know what. Anything is possible. When you have the right mindset, anything's possible. Whatever you desire and you have a purpose and you go after it and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get there, it's going to be a long road. It's not going to be easy, but if you focus, you will get there. And if you always want to be better, you will be better day by day.
Right. It all depends on you.
It
if
does.
you're doing your part, it will come.
It will come. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you have to do it with enthusiasm. You have to do it, you know, with positive energy. If your mindset's negative, it's not going to happen, because that's the biggest component. Because if you have doubt, you have negativity in your mind, then it prevents you. It's a big barrier. It's a mental barrier that doesn't allow you to succeed.
Right.
And you have to stop it. You have to knock it down. No one else can stop you unless you let them. But the biggest person that's going to stop you is yourself.
That's the biggest barrier.
It is. It is.
So now you said that you're promoted to general manager. They got you a new office here at New Western. So tell me, what are you doing now? What is this office doing? What's going on?
Well, we're building. We're building right now. So, you know, pretty much had to start from scratch, built a new team. Have some great guys on the team and girls, and you know, it's training them, coaching them, so they can actually experience what I've experienced. And now it's about building leaders and building top producers, so that way that can change their lives, and that way they can go out and have a positive impact on this community that we're in, and ultimately provide more investors with great opportunities that's going to allow them to experience success in their chosen investment strategy that we're able to provide the assets for them, and you know, just keep it going and not stop. And once this is up and running, then you know, we're shooting to be the best.
So
Number one.
You're teaching, of course, always, right? So you're teaching the next generation.
I am.
And so basically, your office here is looking for deals here in the San Antonio market.
Yes, northwest, north central.
Okay.
We're out here. We're positioned up here by Top Golf.
Those are the best spots, right?
It's prime real estate, hill country too. You know, whatever it is that you're looking for, some land, or you know, just your regular single family houses, some duplexes, some fourplexes. You know, we're here to provide those opportunities for you, so you can earn a return on your investment that's above average. You know, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with what your traditional stocks and CD accounts what those returns look like.
Yeah, terrible, right?
Well, you know, it's okay. It depends on how much money you have, right?
I guess that's true. I guess that's true.
So, but you know, if real estate's what you're looking for, then you know we have inventory.
Well, not just real estate, but real estate at great
Residential,
price points
yeah.
that are going to give you some great returns.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you can provide a little bit of anything,
You
or
know,
everything, suppose.
It's focused on the residential side, but you know, any size of house. You know, you want a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, or you want a 5,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, you know, 5-bath, whatever. You know, we can help you out there.
Well, the thing that I really love too with y'all is that, you know, whether you're an experienced investor or maybe you're on the newer side, you know, your team is there to help with all parts of the process so that the investor can make an informed decision for themselves.
Absolutely.
You know, you go and you go physically to the property, you take a bunch of photos, you do research on the property, find out what it's worth. You do all the negotiation for the investor to get it down to a price point that makes sense from an investment standpoint. You already assess repairs. You help out in all the documentation, setting up a closing. Pretty much, you're kind of a one-stop shop for someone that's looking for an investment to add to their portfolio.
Exactly, and the most important thing is about providing opportunities to people, and it's the agents that work with us, and then it's also the investors that buy from us. Providing opportunities, another source. You know, yeah, can an investor find properties on their own? Yes, they can. But does an investor want the most amount of resources available to them to provide them assets? Absolutely. Why? Because there's value there, and we find about 25 opportunities every month. So
There's plenty to choose from.
there's plenty to choose from, and I'll guarantee you're going to find something that you like.
Of course. So, okay, so you have this office up and running, you're building your team, you're teaching the next generation on how to improve themselves and build their own businesses in a sense. What else are you working on at this point?
I have a show that I'm working on, and basically the show is based off of the 17 Principles of Achievement by Napoleon Hill. And what I'm doing is I'm highlighting these principles of achievement and how I've applied them to my life, and the ones that I've actually applied and have gotten me to this stage in my career so far, and the ones that you know, I have yet to accomplish yet, and that are, once I do apply them and master them, will get me to the next level. And also everyone else that's out there that's, you know, looking for a philosophy of achievement. This is one that I truly believe in, and I think it's important to share it with as many people as I can connect with, because where it comes from, the source of the information, is very credible. It's Andrew Carnegie, you know, steel manufacturer, helped build this country, you know, since the early 1900s. And
From the ground up, literally.
from the ground up, and you know, the way I see it is you can't argue with success. So. And I'm sharing that, you know, for people that need direction. There are people that have, you know, their head on their shoulders, and they know where they're going, and they have their plans, and hey, you know, keep on going, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get to wherever it is that you want to be, you know. And then those that don't know, well, hey, we have some information that can guide you and hopefully get you to where you want to be as well.
Well, the thing I really love about your show is that clearly there's been a long journey for you to this point in your life, and you've achieved several different levels of success. And I love the show because you really have done a lot of reflection, and you've basically distilled the success that you've achieved into the most basic components in combination with all the reading and self-improvement you've done using Napoleon Hill's principles. And basically you've made all these different episodes to highlight specific key components, one topic after another that people can learn from, they can implement, or maybe just enact again, or maybe they haven't done it recently, those type of things, so that they're always working to improve their life and increase their results, just like you're always doing that. And I think that's something that's really impactful for not only those that are starting, that maybe don't have the circle of influence that's positive,
Right.
or even the individuals that are already have achieved a level of success, but they just need to be reminded about this principle or that principle, or maybe they are trying to get to the next level too. So I think your show is an amazing one. It's definitely one that people need to check out for sure. So this has been a great sit down. We've gone over all kinds of different stuff. We've talked about real estate. We talked about success. We talked about your journey. How can people get in contact with you? What's the best way that people can reach out to you? You know, do you do social media, or what is it that people can reach out to you and just say hello, or maybe even try and get access to some of your deals that you talk about?
Yeah, the best way to get in contact with me, I'm always on LinkedIn and Facebook, you know. So add me as a friend. I'll definitely friend you, but make sure your profile's legit.
So you just friend people. I know when I sent a friend request, I had to send it a few times before.
I'll get out of here.
Before you let me in.
I think I friended you.
Oh, okay. All right.
I probably said
maybe I was the one.
I
was like, who is this guy?
All right, I think I'll give him a chance, right? Yeah, no, that's a great way to do it. And then you know, as we connect, you know, we can set up a meeting, sit down, and you know, go over goals and everything, and what you know you want to achieve as far as real estate investing is concerned, and we'll get you on our distribution list, and so that way you can see our inventory as it comes in. But that would be the best way, or you know, sending me an email, carlos.garcia@newwestern.com. Send me an email, and that goes straight to my inbox, and you know, I'll reply back, and we'll make the connection.
Definitely. If you have been impacted by Carlos' story, he's definitely one that is open to communicate. So if you're thinking about messaging him, I definitely say do it. He's always been glad to share his time, share his experience, and help those that want to be helped. So take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, this was a great episode. We talked about a lot. I appreciate you being on here, and looking forward to plenty more good ones in the future.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Hey, of course.
Amen.